Welcome everyone to Building Materials Marketing Unboxed. Thanks for those of you that hung out and stayed with us because we just had a few technical difficulties. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for staying with us. And we've got a great show for you today. You're watching live right now, or if you're listening in the podcast a little bit later, this is Season 2, Episode 6. The title of this episode is Looking Ahead with Mark Mitchell, Channel Sales Model Changes for Building Materials Distribution. And I don't think, if anyone that's watching or listening, I think you know that we have the Wizard with us today, fresh off of his very successful online Wizard Summit last week. And I'm not just saying that, I was there all 3 days. Excellent lineup of speakers. It wasn't just Mark, although the stuff that Mark had to share was, of course, fantastic because he is the Wizard. We know this. He had some great speakers lined up, and we were just talking before the show, and what I really enjoyed about these speakers, it wasn't a commercial. It was real, valuable, and actionable insights that these people provided. So Mark just assembled this great team, and it was a fantastic Wizard Summit last week. And I encourage anyone out there to take a look at it for next year because I know he's going to be doing it again. So once again, Mark Mitchell is with us. A little bit about Mark. Let's get right to it, everyone. He lives in Boulder, Colorado. He wears brightly colored socks, and I got to tell you, one of the more featured elements of the Wizard Summit, we had a sock cam, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't know if Mark can do any acrobatics or not, or if he needs to, but we're going to have to figure out what kind of socks he's wearing today. He has over 40 years experience in helping the building materials companies navigate the channel. He is the author of the industry Bible, Building Materials Channel Marketing. He is a building materials sales and marketing growth consultant. Please welcome to the show. It is my honor to have with us today Mark Mitchell. Welcome, Mark. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Wow, what an introduction. I got to live up to this. This is pretty great.
I am not worried that you are not going to live up to it. This is fantastic. It is great to have you on the show. Can you give us a little description of your socks today?
Today, boy, I don't know if I can do them, but I have these wonderful stars, just big starbursts, like a fireworks show.
I love it. That is fantastic. Certainly appropriate to be on a live show, starbursts and fireworks, because that's what you bring, Mark. So I experienced it last week, so it was fantastic. Thank you so much for being here. This is great. Really good to have you. So let's just jump right into it. I got a couple of questions for you here. What
Sure.
is a commonly held belief in the building materials sector that you just passionately disagree with?
Boy, there's several.
There's so many.
Let's see. So I think that the hot button right now that I'm having is about that it's easy to think that all of your customers are the same. Like a builder is a builder, a roofing contractor is a roofing contractor, an architect is an architect. And they're really quite different and unique. And the more that you take time to understand, you get trained about your products, you get trained perhaps to be a salesperson, to be a better marketer, but always the missing element I find is customer education. So if we take home builders, what are the challenges that home builders are facing this year? What does it take for them to make a profit? What are the biggest reasons that they would not make a profit or have a problem? How does your product fit into their overall the whole process of designing, selling, and building a home? What role does your product play, and how could it play a more important role? And then to go down a level further and say, okay, what makes this builder different than the builder down the street? And that to me is the biggest. Just lost a little headphone there. That to me is the biggest the biggest thing that's like the thing that drives me crazy, and the easiest way that somebody could improve their performance is by understanding what makes each of your customers unique and knowing more about their business.
How would you say, what is the best way, not necessarily the easiest way, but what is the best way for someone to really understand their customer, understand those contractors, understand the home builder?
The easiest way is to, let's say, not be afraid to admit what you don't know, and to be maybe a little humble and literally sit down. I can't think of a single architect, builder, contractor, distributor I've ever met that wasn't more than willing to help somebody from a building materials company to better understand them and their business. And so to literally sit down and say, help me, I would like to learn more about your business so I can do a better job for you. And just ask them that. And they will tell you. And then, all of a sudden you're going to be viewed as I'll call it, you're going to be a more desirable, say, salesperson to them because you care, because you ask. And so they're going to be more likely to say, hey, anytime you want to come back and see me, let me know. Okay. I've always got time for people that want to learn more and help me out. I might not have time for people that are just on a mission, sell, sell, sell. You're all the same. I can sell icicles to Eskimos or whatever. That kind of person doesn't do as well.
That is, I really like that a lot. There are two things that I noticed here that you said. Anytime you come back and see me. So to me, that says, of course, we are in a pandemic situation, but we're getting out of this, so it's hard to do that face-to-face contact. But it sounds to me like this is the opposite of just survey me to death. Would you say that's true?
Yes. I mean, that in fact, that is something that I'm seeing is turning customers off. Whereas we've moved into this area of digital marketing, and now all of a sudden, once again, the marketing department has disconnected itself from the salespeople and decided that they need to go out and find leads for the salespeople, and so they start contacting, for example, builders saying, we'd like all this information from you for our database. And the builder's like, I've been buying from you for 20 years. Really? So you really don't know who I am. What does that make me think about this brand? Okay. And so they're, and I have kind of I've never been a big fan of, quantitative research, because one of the reasons is I think the people that take the time to fill out a survey are the people who aren't really important, and they have time to do that. And so the people I really want to talk to aren't going to have time to fill out a survey.
That's really interesting, especially when you're talking about surveys and going back and forth and everything. So, what does it take for a manufacturer to listen better to their end customer needs, like from a logistical standpoint, or maybe from a company cultural view?
Well, I think you hit upon a key thing there, and that is you can have an individual customer service person, an individual shipping clerk, an individual salesperson, marketing person who really sincerely cares about the customer. But if the company itself doesn't care or want to know what the customer thinks, you're not really going to get very far. I'm always impressed when I go to a trade show and I see the president of the company in the booth to talk to customers, any customers, not just the biggest ones that he's going to take to dinner or something, but any just any customer that comes in the booth, the president that wants to be in touch with. Literally, there was a mayor of New York City, Ed Koch, that I always liked his approach, because he'd walk down the streets of New York City and just go up to people and say, "Hi, I'm the mayor. How am I doing?" Okay. Well, you can imagine in New York City what you're going to hear back, and you know, and you know, companies don't go and ask you know, distributors, contractors, dealers, builders, architects, how are we doing? How could we do better? They really, you know, they assume they're already doing great, and I always think that's such a great source of really valuable research information. And you know, on the back, I think they still do this. Of every Procter and Gamble product is an 800 number that you can call in and leave your comments. And I don't know if they do it today, but they used to like give the executives a cassette every week of just random calls from consumers that they could listen to in their car on their way home. So it's got, oh, gee, a lot of people are talking about Crest and they have a question about this. So they wonder, why don't we have a bigger tube or a smaller tube? You know, I think we should look into that. And so many building material leaders, you know, they're disconnected from the real customer, and they kind of have you know, the employees under them that kind of filter and screen things for them, of course, and just tell them how great they're doing. And the more they can actually be in touch and get a sense of it, you know, more effective they will be.
So how does somebody shift their mind from that, oh, I know what I'm doing, I know everything? How do they, I guess, inherit that humbleness that you're talking about? How do they just take a step back without, I guess the impression would be, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. What's a great first step to really start that, I guess, eating that humble pie?
Well, you know, a thing that just recently came to me was this book. It's called, where's the camera? There you go. War in the Boardroom. So Jack Trout and Al Reese, probably 40 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, wrote one of the best marketing books ever called Positioning the Battle for the Mind. And there were so many lessons I learned in that book that still stick with me. And I think that I'm up on, you know, everything. And I could, this was written, I think, in 2009, and I literally 2 months ago became aware of it. And there's so many times as a marketer person, which I get my left brain, right brain things mixed up, but you know, the right. So I'm, let's say, more of a right brain person, and I come to realize many times, like the building material leader or something, you know, like he wants to do something. I'm like, no, you don't want to do that. No. And like, how can they not see that? And this book really helped me to understand, maybe a little bit, to walk in their shoes and like how they see the world. And, you know, where I see opportunity, they see risk. And so it really has helped me now to better be able to, let's say, have empathy for them, and to say, okay, you know, speaking in their language, here's why you might, you know, here's why you should listen to customers, for example. And so that's been one that's really helped me. And I think it's just it's also a desire, you know, a financial. We have so many companies today that are run by financial people. They used to be the CFO. Now they're the president. They used to be, they're the brilliant engineer that developed the product in the first place, and have a brilliant engineering mind. You know, or maybe an operations person that has risen to be the head of the company. Well, those are all very practical thinking people. Like, they think if we lower the price, we'll sell more. Well, maybe not. You know, if we raise the price, we'll sell less. Maybe not. You know, and I think they also can look. It's hard for them to say, if we improve customer service, that will add costs. And how will we be rewarded for adding those costs? So if having great customer service increases our cost by $1, to their mind, they will lose that amount of sales because the price went up. And so it's hard for them to equate those. I don't know if you call them soft values of dealing with a company, and just how you feel special and welcome. And more today, it's all, time has always been our most valuable asset. We can't replace it. We can't buy more of it. And but even more so now. And so people now, I find, whenever I work, I'm interviewing builders and contractors and architects and people every week, and I'm always asking them, who are your three favorite suppliers and why? I mean, a supplier that if somebody came in and they were 10% lower in price, you'd have to really think about it, right, before you'd switch, right? And they can name them immediately. And I go like, well, why is that? And it's always like, well, they have my back. Like, I don't have to worry when I work with them. If they tell me that the truck is going to be there on Wednesday and it's going to have my complete order, okay, I don't have to worry about that. I've got so many other suppliers I have to deal with that I have to double and triple check. I have to do what I think is their work. Some companies today won't acknowledge orders. I need to know that the order was received. I need to know that, what is the order going to be complete? When is it going to arrive? And so it's hard for, I think, business people who think very rationally to go, what's the value of having that? And it's bigger than they think. And it's like we all have maybe a favorite restaurant or bar. Everybody knows my name. Whatever. And grocery store, butcher, whatever it is. And so the more that you can understand, appreciate that, and say, how can we provide that? All of a sudden, price goes down the list in terms of importance.
There's just so much that we can unpack with just that first statement. First of all, I have to say I'm from Long Island, New York, born and bred. So I remember Ed Koch, and I remember him asking those questions, walking down the street, and understanding, and just trying to get a feel for what's happening, rather than sitting in the mayor's mansion and just assuming what's going to happen. So that full visibility is so important. That is. There's just so much there. This is going to be a great episode. I'm only on my third question for you. How much time do you have, Mr. Wizard?
I love to answer questions because I learn from everybody that I interact with every day. Is one of my goals is to learn something from everybody I can, and so just your question, I learned something from that. So.
That's fantastic. Yeah, we have people coming in with questions, so a lot of agreement there from the team at Manobite. So if you have any questions, those of you that are watching us live, if you have questions, just like Mark said, please ask that, because it helps everyone learn and it helps everyone get better collectively. So, Mark, given the current supply chain challenges and the construction climate that we're experiencing right now, what should manufacturers be doing to adapt their channel sales model?
Well, the most important thing that has to happen, or the most important piece of advice I can give somebody, if you're in I'll call it a sold out situation or a longer lead time situation, the most important thing you can do is to give your customers accurate and timely information. It may not be what they want to hear, but they'd rather have certainty than wishful thinking or not knowing. And so I see many companies, they're scrambling to figure out, how to meet the demand. And they're so focused on that they're not keeping their customers informed of just what is the situation. So, I see some surprisingly large companies who cannot say, we have your order. This is when it's planned to be produced. This is when it's planned to ship. Even if that is 2 months longer than you're used to waiting, And then when they ship, they will call a builder I was talking to last week, and you say, I will get a phone call saying, well, we just thought you'd like to know that a truck left the plant for you today. And he's like, well, what's on the truck? Well, we don't know. Oh, okay. So it'll be like Christmas morning when the truck arrives and they open the trailer and we'll know what's in there. Then we take inventory, I guess. Then we decide, we could complete that home, but we don't have the parts for this home. So now we can start our planning, where if we knew what was on the truck, we could say, okay, this is what's going to happen next week because we know what materials are going to arrive. And so it's going to be amazing when we come out of this. There's going to be a big changing of suppliers and relationships. I think we're going to see a lot of frustrated people like builders saying, "Wow, I can't wait to switch suppliers to somebody that's more reliable, not someone who's cheaper." Someone who's more reliable to deal with than the experience I've just gone through. So we're going to have that. And then the other is, even if you are, we'll say you're not looking for any more business, okay? Selling to me is a skill like golfing, and so, if you looked at a golfer and said, okay, well, we don't want to play golf for 3 months. We've already won enough trophies, or we can't win anymore. So just stop playing, right? Come in the office and help us sort paper or whatever, but don't sell. Well, when it's time to go, what would it be like if you show up then 3 months from now and go out to play golf and you haven't been practicing? Same thing happens if you haven't been selling. And so I think the smart thing to do is to say, okay, who are some of those dream clients? Who's the big, who are difficult to sell? The client you've always wanted to and never been able to land, and who's going to probably could take you a year's worth of effort and 12 sales calls, Well, why not start talking to them? They're not going to order something today. You don't have something to sell them today, but at some point in the future, you're going to have product available and you're going to be looking for customers. And you've got to, you can patiently take your time to invest what it takes to win a really big, important customer, a customer who's hard to get, but also once you have them, they tend to be loyal. They tend to be hard for your competition to unseat. So why not invest some of your time going after the future, as opposed to just thinking about, what are you going to do next week?
I have a question. I'm going to put it up on the. I have a question from Kevin Dean, and he is asking. Let me just adjust this. Do you think some manufacturers who are sold out currently are taking a short-term view and not leveraging this time to transform for the future?
And I don't know whether I would call it short term. I think that they are overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed by ingredient issues, labor issues, shipping issues. It's just like, oh my gosh, I've been through several recessions, and we all think they're the same. We think they're like the last one, but they're all different. And this is a unique thing that we've never experienced. And so there's all of these different, they're up to their eyeballs trying to do their best. So I don't think it's so much that they're thinking short term. I just think that they're not, they're in the chaos as opposed to stepping back, and taking I guess it is short term, long term, but I know usually when I'm criticizing people for short term, they're seeing I can make a sale today and I really don't care about what effect that has in my future. I think this is more about they're trying their darndest and they're facing problems they've not been able to face before. Maybe they don't have the staff that has the skill set to be able to deal with what we're dealing with today. And so they're overwhelmed with that. So they're not taking time to step back and say, Um, this is, everything is in flux right now. What do I think the future is going to be, and how should we be prepared for it? And so that's how I would. I mean, I guess I don't fault them if they're already so understaffed. After the recession, companies, as business came back, decided, well, I need to earn back that profit I didn't get, so I cut back my staff for the recession, and I'm not going to add back to it. So we already had people that were overworked and understaffed, and now we add on. We have this other problem, but we don't have more time or people that's their expertise to solve. I look at at the Wizard Summit last week. We had Tim Seams from John Burns Real Estate Consulting, and Tim, I really love him. He's just, it's always great to talk to him because I think he's more curious than I am, which is hard to do. And he pointed out some amazing things, coming in the future. So for example, offsite construction to me is just going to, it's not at a tipping point yet, but it's getting there. It's going to explode. But yet I see manufacturers sitting back with a wait and see attitude. So that might be one thing where I'd say, okay, a year from now, when I'm back where I have product to sell, who will I be selling it to? And would I be wise to say, gee, if my product is installed in a factory as opposed to on a job site, what could be different about it? Okay. We have things that are 4 feet by 8 feet, so a workman can pick it up and walk around the job site. Well, all of a sudden, if it's a robot picking it up, it doesn't have to be 4 by 8. And the other one that I keep looking at is this investors who own single family homes to rent. And now in the last week, I've been reading, like my son just bought a home in Austin, Texas. And that was like a real adventure for him of, like 7 weeks of constantly, putting in above asking price offers to, be outbid. And he finally landed one. Well, now that same phenomenon is happening in small towns and places that you wouldn't expect it to happen. And so this whole group of people who used to be able to start, whether they are single or married, but they'd say a goal of mine is to own a house. And they start out with an entry level, a house they can afford, and then they move up and move up. Well, now it seems like these investors themselves are buying these houses up, and with the intent of renting them, not flipping them, but putting them in the rental business. And so now we have those people. As you're trying to buy a home, you're now competing with them for that home. And we now have those investors going to home builders saying, I want you to build me homes that I plan to rent. And Tim was sharing, they're starting to find out that the builders can't build the quality of home they need. And builders using builder grade materials are not what they want. They want bulletproof doors and locks and windows and toilets and anything that can break in a rental property. They're willing to spend more for it to last longer. So, wow, that's a whole new market. That's a whole new, rather than, oh, I hate selling builders. They only want the cheapest builder grade stuff. They won't buy my better stuff. Well, hello, we got, like one company owns 44,000 homes for rent in 14 markets. Gee, that seems like one customer I could go talk to and say, how many new roofs will you need a year? This is what we project. And if you will use our roofs, this is what we'll do for you. But I don't see anybody doing that. And so chasing that, it's always, we wait for the market to appear. And then we scramble, as opposed to we get out ahead of it. And I think there's some signs real plain about where the market is going to be, and just make the changes in your company and your product line to meet those needs.
Would you say that a lot of building material manufacturers are just afraid to be the first one? They want to see the proof. They want to see that this is a worthwhile investment before they're the first one out there. And if it blows up in my face, I'm gonna have egg on my face, and more than that too.
Well, I think we have this. I also had this guy, David Davis, speak last week, and he is an expert in how to successfully launch new products. Not in building materials. He primarily works in technology, where, think about it, if you don't have, a new iPhone at least once a year, you're dead. You're gone. And just think about how many products are their cameras, all of this, TVs, all of these things, they're constantly having to innovate. And so we have not been forced to have to do that in building materials. So I find the building materials industry is if you're the manufacturer, it's kind of about economies of scale, almost like back to Henry Ford. Like, I'm going to make, you can have any color you want as long as it's black. So if I make asphalt roofing shingles, I have a plant. The more I can keep that plant at capacity, running 24/7, that means the fewer changes, fewer line changes. Same with things like vinyl siding, things like that. That's how I will be more successful. The idea of coming out with something that would compete with my products, that would cannibalize some of my sales, that might not work, okay, is a big challenge. I find, for building material companies. And most new products fail anyway. Even somebody like Procter and Gamble or Kraft or Nike, that should be good at what they're doing. They'll miss the mark and have failures. And so it's particularly hard for building material companies because they see this as a sure thing. I have this product, I have this market share, I have these factories, these resources. This is a sure thing, right? Anything else from that is less sure. And so they kind of keep gravitating, and it's like I think of like Nest thermostats came out of nowhere. Okay. So we never would have seen Honeywell or any of the leaders in thermostats come out with Nest. Okay. So here's somebody that was one of the original designers of, think, the iPod, said, I have always wanted to run my own business, rent my own thing, and run my own business. And what's a great category? Oh, building materials. Oh my gosh, they're so asleep as like a bunch of dinosaurs, right? And so boy, but if I tried to compete with cell phones, things like that, man, that'd be some real competition. So why don't we go to building materials, right? And so let's say the most expensive setback thermostat's $120. Well, we'll charge $250. And then also, we have to go make sure that the HVAC distributors and HVAC contractors like us and our product. No, we don't care. We don't care if they like us or not. In fact, we're going to sell thermostats in an Apple store. We're going to sell them online. We're going to sell them in some strange places. Okay. Oh, this company Lowe's is calling us and saying they want to talk to us. We don't have to go call on them. They came to us. Who has the leverage in that discussion? So then I don't know what I'm doing. I buy this thing. It looks cool, looks different than what a thermostat's supposed to look like. And so I go and I buy it. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, well, here, would you like to install it yourself? Well, 1, here's a video you can watch. 2, we will get on the phone with you and walk you through it. Or 3, here, pick, just like ordering an Uber car, you can have a contractor come to your house for $80 at the time you want them to come and to install it. And it's a flat $80, and then rate them afterwards if they did a nice job. Well, what? I mean, if I were in building materials, I'm going to be more worried about those people coming after me and saying, Elon Musk decides to, what should a floor be? Okay. Uh-oh. So we don't inherently within the industry have that type of thinking. And so it's like we take what is there and then we make a slight improvement to it, and another slight improvement, and another slight improvement. We don't start with a blank sheet of paper and say what should be a thermostat, what should be a roof. And the other challenge that we have with the industry is fear of channel conflict. So in other words, if I have a big distributor who carries my product, who sells to a big just contractors, and all of a sudden, if they see, oh, you can come to my website and I will sell you the installed product directly, probably wouldn't go over really well, right? Like if you've ever gone, and looked at buying a Tesla car, it's like, oh my gosh, experience compared to dealing with a car dealer. But Ford could never do a Tesla model because the Ford dealers would, burn the place down or something, and so that's another challenge. Now it's amazing how the world has kind of accepted that things are moving online. You're going to be able to buy products online. So you either got to get on board with that or recognize it's a reality. You can be unhappy about it, but even if the manufacturer isn't doing things online, chances today one of their distributors or dealers is selling it on their own website or selling it on Amazon. Home Depot and Lowe's, are really focused on their online sales. So that's also something that holds back innovation. It's not just the product, but it's like, how do I buy the product? How's it delivered? How's it designed, estimated, installed? All of those things. And so I think that also holds us back about willing to step forward because we're afraid that we're going to upset our current customers.
Oh, there's so many good things in there. I remember that session that you speak of with, I think it was Dave Daniels. He, interestingly enough, he was on our podcast 2 episodes ago. So those of you that are listening right now, if you want to check out what Dave had to say, he had, of course, some great insights at the Wizard Summit, but also he had some insights here on Building Materials Marketing Unboxed. Very product specific. So that's season 2, episode 4 that Dave Daniels was on. But Mark, I love how you took the Nest thermostat, because it's almost like people look at it and they say, oh, it's like a Cinderella story, but really it's the way you describe it, it just makes sense.
Well, I think like Nest, we start out assuming we have to sell it to a distributor, and then a contractor has to install it. We start out with certain assumptions, and then if you come from outside of the industry, you don't know those rules. You just know person would benefit from a better thermostat. And so how do we make that happen? And you all of a sudden you don't care. And it's easier, it's like whenever somebody new coming into a company, I'm always like, you see things that nobody else sees, and don't assume this company knows what they're doing. Okay. Because, in 6 months, you'll be part of you'll see the same things they see, but right now you see things that stand out. Like, why do you do that? Okay. And don't assume that it's the right thing to do. It's just what they have done for a long time, and, has probably worked, for a long time, but maybe it's time to let go of it.
Yeah, having someone with those fresh eyes that's looking at something from a new perspective, that's not used to the same old, can certainly be a value. That's great stuff, Mark. This is fantastic. I do have a question. I'm going to put it on the screen here for you. Manobite, somebody from our team wants to know, in your view, how important is it for manufacturers to help their distribution channel partners also get up to speed digitally and selling online?
It's critically important. We have a group of companies and their salespeople who understand how the distributor of yesterday worked. They understand how the big box of yesterday worked, and so there are distributors like Dex Direct is a company that was set up solely to distribute decks online. Like they don't have, a warehouse where they're trying to service, local contractors. Okay. Their market is the United States or North America. And well, wow, they don't need displays. They're not going to have contractor night. What do they need? Okay. Maybe they need content to help drive more traffic. Maybe they need people that are really good, smart digital marketers that can give them a different perspective. Maybe they need help. They do a good job, but it's like, bring me things that will enable me to do an even better job. And it's so you see the person that's has this title, VP of National Accounts, and they call on Lowe's or Home Depot. And to me, many of those people they go there to do what they're told. Okay, what Home Depot tells them to do is what they do, even though they have this title that would make you think that they're more than that. And they can cut red tape in the company and so forth because they represent a big customer. But they're used to, most of them, have been there in their jobs for a while. They're good at what they do, but they're used to fighting for space in a store. They're used to, what does the store need? And now the store is almost an afterthought. And it's a whole different world talking about, homedepot.com is now the store. And so that's a different mindset. Like, how do I help Home Depot get more traffic? How do I help them grow the category online and therefore then grow mine? And I'm always been people are always trying to, let's say, cannibalize sales. It's like there's 5 brands of doors that will say a Lowe's carries. And so you go in there trying to say, well, you should feature me instead of the other guy. And the smart thing is to say, okay, we're going to help you drive more people into the aisle to buy more doors. And if we do that, we'll get our fair share, right? But most people think, and so it doesn't really help, the category manager if all you're doing is switching one door for another. What helps them is all the doors. We sold 20% more doors this year. And the same thing happens with online, and understanding what drives online, understanding, their ad strategy, understanding their organic search. And I find many times that you can help them. Like, you can generate content that will organically rank well and send people to Home Depot. And it's something they're too busy to be able to develop the depth of content for every product line they carry. And that's something the manufacturer can do and can get credit and appreciation for helping them do, and shows the whether it's a distributor or a dealer or a big box, shows them that you understand digital.
Do you think that some manufacturers have already missed the boat at this point? How can we help them catch up?
Well, I don't think. I think they're behind. I don't think they've missed the boat. Okay, because there's going to be, for the time being, a demand for their products. But rather than being out in front of their customers, I think they're getting pulled along by their customers. And so they need to continue to up their digital marketing skills, and through a combination of educating their own staff, perhaps adding some staff that has that experience, and then or replacing some staff. And then also, in today's world, you're crazy trying to keep everything in-house, all the expertise. You need to be aware of all of the outside resources that are experts at different things that can help you. And because they're outside, they're maybe dealing with 10 different companies in building materials with the same problem you have. So they've already made some mistakes. They've already learned things. And so, there's a wealth of outside knowledge, but you need to have enough inside knowledge to be able to guide your let's say, outside partners correctly, and not just, I see also companies go, well, I don't understand this digital. Somebody came in and told me it's all on Facebook advertising. And if we spend $60,000 on Facebook advertising, all of our problems will go away. And they go, okay. And they sign up for it and nothing happens. And they feel like it. So so you need to know what you're buying. It's kind of like the first time that you hire an ad agency, it's like you just bought a Ferrari and you probably don't know how to drive it. And it may likely end up in a kind of a bad crash, right? Because when you say go, they go, right? But and they assume you know how to drive. And I find, many times those first experiences, you don't know how to drive.
Do you think some of those first experiences have kind of soured some companies to the whole digital experience?
Well, I think it's been an ongoing thing. Particularly, I think in companies like building materials that have not had the pressure to perform in marketing the way cars do, or food, or fashion, or cell phones, or computers, technology, things like that. Movies, marketing is so important to them that has not it's not been as critical in building materials. So somebody decides, my sales are not growing at the pace that I think they should be. So therefore, what should I do? Okay, well, let's hire an ad agency. Okay, or let's hire let's get a new website. They'll jump from the objective to the strategy of hire somebody, or to the tactic with no strategy. And so they think, if we do this, then that will be what to do. And so you can have a very creative firm that is, I sincerely trying to do their best, but this is a strange business. So they will, the most common mistake is they will assume, for example, that if I reach the homeowner, the sale will happen. And they disregard the fact that how easily the contractor can talk you out of something and steer you where they want to, or how a home builder is not just going to put this different product in their production home. So frequently they don't take the time to learn the intricacies of just all the who the real decision makers are in each situation and who can influence that. So they do this beautiful creative thing that is expensive, wins awards, everybody's excited, but then 3 months later realize nothing's happened to sales. And so what happens is they go, well, that was a dumb idea. We aren't going to do that again. Instead of saying, maybe we hired the wrong firm, maybe we didn't know what we were doing. They kind of like hunker back down again for a while.
Yeah, I think that really brings us kind of full circle to what your first statement, something that you passionately disagree with. That whole impression that you have to know that end user. You have to really know that, not just the end user and all the people in between. Would you say that's true?
Oh, yes. I mean, that right there is, if you're new to the industry, you really need to be able to map out, how does your client's product get to market? Who are all the different influencers and so forth? What is their role? The architect can specify your product, but they're not going to order it or buy it or install it. These are all, nuances that are unbelievably important. But I see, many people they're very creative, and they just believe that their sheer creativity can overcome. Why do I need to understand that? This is going to be so creative that sales are just going to happen because I'm a creative genius. It's like, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think we want to make business decisions on maybes, but unfortunately, sometimes it seems to me that it has to be not only creativity, but it also has to be understanding. And as you said earlier, that's going out and hitting the bricks, pounding the pavement, and having those conversations. Yes.
Yes, definitely.
So
you have to do that. Yes.
Oh, terrific. What are some of the major problems with building material manufacturers' internal marketing assumptions?
First problem is they assume that they are there to do what they are told. And so Many marketing departments are viewed as a glorified art studio or the people that draw pretty pictures. So when the company decides that they need to increase sales or introduce a new product or whatever the goal is, they go to marketing and tell them, we're introducing a new product. We will need a brochure. We will need to update the website. Here's a list of everything we need. Okay. Or we're having our sales are not growing as fast as we'd like, or they're declining. So we want you to produce this. Okay, we want to go to this trade show, so we need a big booth. We need to draw a lot of attention. Okay, and so so the first thing is they're not given problems; they're given tasks. So they should always insist on, okay, that's fine. I understand. We're going to do this, and here's what you think we should do. But help me understand better. What is the real problem here? Okay, and then be able to apply your marketing skills to how should the problem really be solved. And so that's the first one. The second one is there's very low expectations of performance. It's like, I know that we need to spend money on marketing. I know some of it doesn't work. I don't know which does or doesn't work. And so does the boss like it? Did the boss like the new website? Did the boss like the trade show booth? That is the measure of success that marketing should not accept. The boss is not the customer. If you really want to succeed, you want to make the boss happy at the end of the year because you helped him make his numbers and you showed him how responsibly you spent his money by being able to measure everything you do.
So many good things there. So many great things. What should manufacturers stop investing their company resources into? What's your recommendation?
Wow. Let's see. At the top of my mind, any legacy thing, anything you've been doing for a long time, it's probably time to let go of it. If you go to a trade show every year because you always go, and the reason you go is because what would people think if we weren't there? Okay. If every year you print a catalog because you've always printed a catalog, anything that you've just always done is something to let go of, and then to look really at your customers and say, where are they at? And what are better ways to reach them? Would I be more, because today it's so fragmented. Some people like emails, some people like text, some people like social media, some people like coming to your website. You've got to, they expect you to be in all of these places. But people will say, oh, Mark, we can't do that. We need to get more budget for marketing to do that. And I go, but you could stop doing these other things and there's the money right there. I've never been a big fan of trade shows, mainly because they're so expensive and they're like, 3 days to perform. And I'm sitting there, boy, if you took even just a percentage of the money that you spend at a trade show and you put it into, I'll use the word digital, now you literally have a trade show that's there 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it bypasses that moment in time, and it works for you at any time. That's a great recommendation there. I think that. I'm gonna pivot back to your summit there from last week. One of my favorite sessions was probably the last session when when you got up there and you just said, "We learned this from this person. We learned this from that person." So, and it was, I don't think we have the time to summarize all of that. So I'm going to challenge you here, Mark. I'm going to challenge you to, and because it was your summit, what was the number one takeaway for you from the Wizard Summit?
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Man, there are so many, so many. Uh, well, I will say my favorite part, and one that if I what I would hope that the attendee would take away was on Wednesday. Um, I find that many companies, for example, I sell windows. Every building has a window, so therefore every building is a prospect. So we have some companies that literally that's about as sophisticated as they think. I always start out and go, okay, well, there's commercial and there's residential. Which one is better for you? Okay. Okay. And if you're going to tell me we're going to do both, that's okay. But we're going to take them apart one at a time. Okay. We're going to have a commercial plan, a residential plan. Then, okay, we have under commercial and residential, we have new construction and we have repair, remodel, retrofit. Which of those are better for you? Okay. So starting down there. So now we get down to, we do better in commercial retrofit. Okay. Now we're starting to get, a little more focus on where our best targets are. And then to take it a step further and say, the best type of building for our product is this type of building. And it may be this best type of building that has this type of owner, the best type of building that has this type of architect. And so to not worry about size of the opportunity, but to think about if these things are in place, hands down, we are the clear best choice. Okay. So, if you sell foam insulation, a frozen food warehouse is a dream project for you. And you have a clear advantage because of the, R's per inch many of the factors that make foam great at what it does. It fits great. So, okay. So one, and that's an extreme example because you'd sit and say, well, that's great, but how many frozen food warehouses are really going to be built this year? And, will it amount to, how much total sales would amount to? Probably not enough, but it's starting somewhere and then maybe expanding out from there till you get to where you have a size. So I like to look and say, where's the best type of building and or owner. Okay. So you could have a building, but maybe the owner is a university, the owner is a hospital, and so they have distinct needs and they also tend to think longer term. You're not dealing with a developer that's thinking about, yes, I'm building a new hotel, but I'm going to sell it in the first 3 years. So I really don't care how long the roof lasts because it's not going to be my hotel. I just need to have a showy opening and be able to show people the occupancy rates, and then I'll sell this thing and get rid of it, right? That's a different kind of owner, right? And so to be able to really drill down as much as possible, there's, 200 to 300 different types of commercial buildings. Now that's if you're saying a police station is a type of building, a veterinary office is a type of building. And when you start to look at that, then you start to look at the owners. And as we have, or it could be the type of builder, it could be the type of roofing contractor, it can be, whatever it is, but you don't view the whole world. So the more you can focus, then the more powerful and convincing your message is, and the better you get at delivering it. So if I'm talking, every day to architects that design hotels, I'm going to get really good at understanding the issues that go into hotel construction and design and operation. I'm going to be able to talk to hotel managers, hotel owners, architects, GCs. I'm going to know hotels inside and out. But if I'm bouncing from hotel one day to office building the next day to a dormitory to a multifamily, all I know is my product. I really don't know that. So So the idea of really stepping back and focusing and then saying, okay, we've chosen our target. Now, what do we need to do from a content and SEO standpoint? What do we need to do? What do we need to do to change in our CRM? Are we equipped with the tools like BIM and so forth that the architect might want? Are we, instead of going to the AIA show, we're going to go to the bowling operators show, bowling alley operators show, where we'll probably be the only building material there, but we're going to be talking to the owners of, like I own 60 bowling alleys. I've never seen a product like this. I'm going to go to my architect and tell them this is what I want to use in future buildings. Guess what's going to happen? They're going to use your product. So I find too many companies, they're chasing something that looks like a big opportunity in terms of it's a big project, or they're chasing big customers because they're big, and they would be better served to step back and look at the best fit of their company, their product, with the type of building and the type of owner.
For those of you that are listening, focus is the word, the number one takeaway from the Wizard Summit, from the wizard himself. It's focus. And I also think that, as you were talking, I was thinking, that also answers the question that maybe a lot of manufacturers get is, we don't know what you do. We don't know we don't know if you're bouncing from a hotel to a bowling alley to every different opportunity. We don't know what you do, but if you're focused, now we know what you do. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yes. And it also gives you, like opportunity. Let's say I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. In terms of social media, because I find it's business people wanting to have business discussions. And so, there is, there's probably like a hotel operators group, on LinkedIn, that the GCs that design hotels belong to it, the architects design belong to it. So all of a sudden you're on there and you start to have things to share. You have to, not only about your products, but things you've learned, or, here's the 5 biggest mistakes I see people make when choosing a door for a hotel. Okay. And all of a sudden you're going to get known as, somebody that knows what they're doing and has helpful information.
And that's why we're so happy that you're on the show. I can't believe it's been an hour already, but we connected on LinkedIn, and you were more than willing to be on the show and to be a part of this. I can't believe the hour has flown by, but I do want to ask you one more question, and this can be building whatever you want, but what is the best piece of advice that Mark Mitchell has ever received?
Wow. Gosh. Wow. Best piece.
Now, if you want to come on next week, and if you want to adjust your answer, we can do that too.
I'd love to come back again. Best piece of advice. I guess I remember when I was young and first starting out, and I was working for the VP I was helping a big company do their sales meeting, and meeting with this, crusty old VP of sales, and I remember, like he asked me a question, and my answer said, well, I assumed. And he said, don't ever assume, because it makes an ass out of you and me. And that's always just stuck with me, that the minute I think that I know what I'm doing or that I'm right, a little alarm goes off in my head and says, okay, just, are you sure? Have you checked with anybody, or you assume that this is right? Even if it was right a year ago, maybe something's changed in that last year that you don't know about. And so I constantly am reminded of that, to not be afraid to ask a stupid question, to just make sure that you're in the right place. And I think too many of us are like, well, I can't ask that because then they'll think I don't know what I'm talking about or something. And it's like people would much rather deal with, you straight up. I had a client, a month ago that was talking to me about engineered stone was the term they're using. So I'm thinking, okay, like cultured stone. And so I'm putting all these things together and so forth. And I thought, I think I'm going to just ask the client to make sure. I'm going to show him some competitors' websites. Okay. And I show it to him, and he goes, "Oh, no, 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 no. This is engineered quartz that we turn into countertops." And I'm like, okay, so I took engineered stone, and I went down this path, and I thought for a minute, I don't know why, but I think I'm sure I'm right, but I just better check, and so that's probably off the top of my head the one that I would share today.
And just that little piece, just that one question probably saved you months of, wait a minute, or weeks or months of just everybody going in circles, assuming that everybody's on the same page. And I think that also lends to your curiosity as well. You said at the start, you're a very curious person, so therefore you'll ask the question.
Yes. I love to ask questions because it's to me is the best way to learn.
Great advice. We'd love to have you back because you opened that door. So, of course, I'm going to go there. So
love to be back.
That sounds great. Mark, thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to wrap up the show. And if you're going to stick around for a little bit, I'd love to talk to you backstage. So,
sure.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks again,
here.
Mark. Talk to you in a little bit. Like I said, I can't believe the hour has already passed. So I just want to thank the wizard, Mark Mitchell, for joining us again today, giving us a very clear idea of what we should be looking ahead towards when it comes to channel sales model changes for building materials distribution. So many great insights. And of course, if you were here live with us, we thank you for joining us live. But keep in mind, we also make this into a podcast. So you didn't miss anything. You can always go back and refer to it. We're just going to tidy it up a little bit. So it'll be out there in about a week. So manufacturers out there, I hope you were listening and I hope you found this episode valuable. Mark will be back with us. We're going to get him scheduled for sure since he offered that. So if you did like what you heard, please like and subscribe. Follow us on all the socials. But much like Mark, Manobike likes to hang out the most on LinkedIn. So especially like and follow us there. Thanks for those of you that joined us today live on Twitter, Facebook, and on LinkedIn and YouTube. Building Material Marketing Unboxed is live every second and fourth Tuesday of the month. So, and for those of you that are watching a replay of this on YouTube or listening to this on the podcast, we want to thank you for listening. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And until next time, whatever life throws at you or unboxes for you, may it be great.